Labor Talks was John DeRosier, recorded at Chippewa Valley Community Television in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Hello, welcome to Labor Talks. My name is John DeRosier, and our special guests today are Bill Jaskowiak and his wife, Lynn. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
That was good,
Yes,
John.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Bill is an employee of Social Security, and Lynn is his real boss. And Bill in no way is speaking for Social Security. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But he is here to explain some misconceptions. Thank you for joining us, Bill.
Thank you.
Lynn, thank
It's
you
a
for
pleasure,
joining
John.
us.
Thank you.
And what do you do for Social Security, and how long have you worked for them?
I am a technical expert claims representative. I've worked for Social Security over 38 years. Not giving my age away or anything. I started as
It's
at
too
12
late.
years.
You're at least 60.
And so that I've worked for since 1986 here in Eau Claire office, Social Security office. And I want to thank you for having us here today.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for putting up with my joke.
And as I said, I am here representing workers, really, not their thoughts and ideas of the Social Security Administration.
You're a union steward.
I am a union steward, yes, and I'm representing people, really.
Okay. Now, do you believe that Social Security is in real danger of going bankrupt, or is this a manufactured crisis, or might it be something else?
Well, recently there was somewhat of a manufactured crisis. There are several, well, not several, there are two trust funds, the Old Age and Survivors Trust Fund and the Disability Trust Fund. And periodically, what you contribute to them gets moved about between the trust funds depending on who needs or what program needs more funds. The Congress made a big deal out of it this year because they wanted something else to pass, so it was just being piggybacked on to make people think that the disability beneficiaries and the social retirement beneficiaries have to duke it out to see who's going to get more benefits. But are they going broke? The Board of Trustees reported in July of last year that the Social Security Trust reserves are still growing. That is, people are contributing more to their payroll deductions than are being sent out in benefits. And it'll be growing projected through 2019, which means that there would be enough to fully fund all the beneficiaries and future beneficiaries until 2033. In 2020, the cost of the program is going to be a little more than the income if Congress doesn't make any kind of adjustments to replace the earnings.
Approximately how much money is in the Social Security Trust Fund right now? I understand, now I could be wrong, but I understand it could be 1.5 billion. Is that accurate?
I don't have the exact figures, but that does sound to be consistent with what I've heard.
Kind of rings a bell, doesn't it?
Right, right.
Okay.
And if Congress would act, they could make sure Social Security is funded well into the future. Currently, the cap on Social Security contributions for wages or self-employment is $118,500 a year. So
Which means to people who
if you make $119,000, you're only going to pay Social Security taxes on $118,500. Mm-hmm. If you make $200,000, you still pay Social Security taxes on $118,500. If you make $1 million, you're still only paying Social Security taxes on $118,500. Raising the cap or totally eliminating it would bring in revenue that would fund Social Security probably for as long as it's around.
In other words, there is a cap to how much people, no matter what their income is, there is a cap to what they're paying in.
Mm-hmm.
And that could hurt Social Security in the long run.
Right, because at the rate of growth of the number of people retiring and drawing benefits, in 2019 or 2020, Social Security would be spending more than they're taking in.
Now, this is an obvious question, but how would this affect working families? If Social Security was cut back, if they lost offices, that type of thing,
Well,
or if this manufactured crisis became a real crisis.
so the one thing I want to make clear too is that Social Security was never intended to be a retirement program.
Mm-hmm.
It's an insurance program that in case you get sick or die, your family would have something. And being a social insurance program, everybody pays in. Not everybody collects as much as they go in. But it's not a retirement program in that it doesn't pay enough generally for a person to live on. It's just, I use the example that it's a mattress so that when you fall, you don't hit the ground. But it's kept millions of people out of poverty. And it's, you know, all the government programs, it's most likely the most popular program. I don't, you know, nobody, when I tell them I work for the government and Social Security, they don't want to throw daggers at me. And if I said I work for the IRS, maybe that would be a different thing.
But you don't work for the IRS.
No, I don't work for the IRS, but I don't know exactly how much is in the trust fund. And I lost my train of thought.
But if Social Security didn't exist as a unit, this is people would sorely hurt.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Yeah. I mean, I'm disabled due to pain conditions, but because I paid in, my FICA tax was taken out, I receive a small insurance payment every month that supplements our income. And because we have a disabled son at home who is not currently collecting anything, it allows me to afford to have our adult son living with us. And we couldn't do it. We couldn't make it.
Understood completely. Now, when I ask about how this would affect working families, and like you explained, Social Security was not set up to be a retirement program. However, there are those working families, those blue-collar workers, who rely only on Social Security.
There definitely
And
are.
any cutback would really, really hurt them,
It would
wouldn't
be
it?
devastating.
It would be
for
because
some
along
people.
with Social Security at age 65, Medicare comes in too, which was when did that come? When it was at the Johnson administration.
I think somewhere around 65.
19.
I didn't brush up on that.
1965, 1966 were very good years for people on Social Security, and they started receiving Medicare also. And then along came the Medicaid program, which is
Supplementing also, yes.
Now, what could happen, and I think I'm being redundant here,
Yeah.
but what could happen if this manufactured crisis became a reality? And could you please point out how this crisis was manufactured?
Well, the one with the trust fund, transferring funds between the trust funds, but I don't know if you'll take a close look at your paychecks, but the contributions together, in the FICA taxes, it's split up to the old age and survivor and disability. And so at times there's more people drawing disability than the whole fund can take care of, or what's designated as that fund. But historically, the agency has transferred money between one trust fund and another trust fund to meet temporary shortfalls or deficits.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time. That's how they manage their budget. But with this Congress, it was pointed out as a fault in the system. It was pointed out as a fault in the system, and not just business as usual.
Right, with an effort to get the two Social Security groups feuding against each other and like obscure the whole real issue. Because
Did it work?
I don't think so.
I think they're still trying.
I think they transferred the funds that they need to. It's all real. That happens all real quietly. Nobody. It's not in the news.
But if Social Security ceased, you would have more elders on the street. You couldn't afford to heat your homes. You couldn't. There would be people starving. It's a necessary social program.
Right, and as it's set up right now, the funding, like I said, it would be depleted in 2033. But the projected income that would still be coming in at that rate would be enough to fund 77% of the due benefits. Just new people working and paying Social Security taxes would be enough to fund 77% of the beneficiaries. How long? That's a good question. That's why Congress needs to do something to shore up disability. 2033 is not, well, it's 18 years away, not that far.
There have been those who tell us that Social Security is causing deficits. Now, that's not exactly accurate, is it?
Not at all. As I said, there's a surplus in Social Security that would fund things through 2019. That the Congress, I'm not sure exactly when they did it. They started using the Social Security Trust Fund as a way to help balance the budget.
That's it. That's what I was going to point out.
It's not part of the budget, but the funds are there. So we say, well, we got this pile of money, so we're not as badly in debt as it looks like.
Yeah,
that money
that fund
can't
is
be touched for
it's the
any
sacred
other purposes.
Yeah. But Congress will include that pile of money that is not touchable by Congress at this time. They want it. They'll include that in the budget because it shores up the other deficits.
The other thing that a lot of people don't grasp, and some politicians are trying to convince us, is that people do not believe that they are actually paying into the system, and they're the ones who keep it going. And there are those politicians who say, well, it's all part of the budget. It's all part of the national budget. Quite frankly, I think that's a line of nonsense.
Yes.
They use it to make their books look good, but it's not really part of the deficit. They count it as an asset, actually, so the rest of their stuff doesn't look so bad, the rest of their books. I'm not an accountant, so I don't use those regular accountant terms.
Now, could we see a reduction in Social Security employees?
They're already proposed that they
Easy.
They have a plan. They had this group do a study of Social Security, the National Academy of Public Administration,
Funded by?
And their report calls for smaller workforces in Social Security, which means layoffs, reduced physical infrastructure, which is doublespeak for closing field offices, and that Social Security, the administration is not resisting Congress's cuts. Congress has cut Social Security's budget probably since the 70s, and it's just because they're preparing for more employee retirement and continued budget restates, and so they're trying to figure out some other plan to serve the public. So they said, they interviewed people at one office and said, it would be a great idea if everybody filed their disability and retirement claims online. Well, one thing that I don't think that you can learn from looking at a website for 10 minutes or a half hour is the stuff that I've spent 38 years getting knowledge on and administrating this program to make sure that persons get everything they have coming, that they choose the right month of entitlement, that they choose the right benefit, that they mention their children and their children get benefits. And it's kind of insulting to think that a website or a program could replace my advice, my knowledge. But that's in the plans to get rid of all of the Social Security field offices by 2025, which is only 10 years away. And they'd started implementing that by cutting our hours. We were open 9 to 4:30, and we're open 9 to 4, and we're open 9 to 3, except we're closed at noon on Wednesdays. But recently, I think because of public outpouring, they've expanded it this week to 9 to 4 again on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Still closing at noon on Wednesday so we can deal with all the work that we've got.
Now, we just learned we have 10 minutes left. And Lynn, I could see that you were chomping at the bit.
No, this is...
Seriously, if you guys, this is a good time to, if there's anything you want to add, this is a darn good time for it.
It's very important that people, that first with the net, the internet is not available to all people in every part of the country. It's just not available, and it's an expense that some people can't afford. And also that the Experian, the company that's watching over the website, they're being investigated by our own government for selling 600 million pieces of information to a Vietnamese identity theft ring. So, and Bill has had a couple of calls at work from his claimants who have called and said, I didn't authorize my checks to be moved into somebody else's account, so that there's more opportunity for.
So point blank, there's more opportunity for crooks to make use of the internet, and people who are 65 years or older or 60 years older aren't that.
They're being victimized.
They're being victimized. Okay. Now, you mentioned that there will be a reduction of employees. Okay. Now, along with that, would we not see a reduction in offices, which means that people are going to have to either become more reliable on the internet or they're going to have to travel further? Is that correct?
Travel further, that they say that face-to-face contact would be rare, because the plan is to have these 8 mega centers, like in Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Kansas City, San Francisco.
That's scary.
And so there would be no more face-to-face
scary.
interaction except in very limited situations. Yeah, it's good to be able to talk to the person who's helping you decide what your retirement plans are.
And if something goes wrong, you can always go to that local office and straighten out the person one-on-one, rather than dealing with a big, vast internet.
And if you make a wrong choice, if you choose the wrong month of entitlement on the internet, or if you choose the wrong benefit, your own instead of spouses, or spouses instead of yours, in 60 days, that becomes a final decision. And you're stuck with it then. You can't appeal it.
There's no turning back at all. That is scary.
They're asking you to make decisions you're not qualified to make about your life, and then penalizing you for making those decisions that you didn't know you were making.
Now, how would this affect benefit checks? That is, would it affect their timely arrival? Would it reduce their checks? What could happen here?
It could be their benefits they might lose benefits in the sense that they retired in June and said, okay, I want to start my benefits with July, but based on how much they made from January to June, they could have started, in March or whatever month we're talking to them and get 3 more checks, which generally takes about 14 and a half years to break even, getting more checks or fewer checks at a slightly higher rate. So they maybe it's cheating themselves in that way. Some beneficiaries have the option of picking their spouse's benefits at 66 and waiting till 70 to get their own with delayed retirement credits, because that can be advantageous for some. And a lot of people don't know that that's available.
Now, we're going to go off script here, because before our show started, both Lynn and Bill pointed out that they have certain attire here that they definitely want to show off. So, Lynn, why don't you show us what's written on your T-shirt? Go ahead.
Oh, this is Solidarność. Solidarność was it's Polish for solidarity, and my great-grandfather was a union organizer, and he was murdered at the Latimer Massacre, so I have a tribute to him on my back, and he's with me every day, because union rights are civil rights.
I agree. Now, you young fella, and this might be in the way.
I just thought that this was appropriate because that's what the people who were demonstrating in Madison a few years ago were called when they were peacefully protesting.
Do you mean I finally met a union thug?
Yeah, it's not like
I've
the
been
ones that
asking
break
people.
your knuckles, or but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, this is the guy that tells the
I've
truth.
been asking people, have you met any union thugs? And guess what, folks? We have a union thug right here. Amazing. But are you really a union thug? That is, do you threaten people? Do you engage in thuggery?
No.
No.
It's
This is a huggable
euphemism. Yeah, I just am, proud to support working families and unions being the basis for working families, a working class.
Now, I do have one last question. Lynn, you go first, and then Bill, okay? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Educate yourselves. Don't take things at face value. Learn your history. History, it speaks volumes. Learn where you come from and why you're here.
Now, one thing you didn't point out that I think you should is who you vote for. Because you definitely want to vote for somebody who is going to stand up for and protect Social Security. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. And we have a couple of puppet masters. One who ran on a vice presidential ticket, who wants to abolish Social Security.
Who might that be?
I don't know if it's Dave or Chuckles, one of those
One
two.
of the Koch brothers. Koch brothers.
Koch brothers.
Yeah.
Easy, fella. Easy. That was an honest mistake, ladies and gentlemen. I know, Bill.
Yeah,
In the Libertarian Party, he was part of his platform was to eliminate Social
Security. Yeah, and if it were such a bad idea, there would be nobody interested in privatizing it.
But there's that $1.5 billion pot of money that they want to get their hands on.
Really?
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Now, Bill, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I just kind of echo what Lynn says. Educate yourself. Vote for the people who are going to support expanding Social Security, because it could stand to be expanded, and it could support people who will make it last beyond 2033, because it is what keeps lots of people out of poverty.
Your life may depend on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a very real danger that Social Security benefits could be reduced. True?
Right, right.
True?
True.
Okay, well, that's our program for today. My thanks to our viewing audience, and as I've said it before, and I will say it again and again and again, I thank our viewing audience because after all, if it wasn't for you folks, we wouldn't have much of a show. Also, my thanks to ladies first.
Thanks,
My
Jen.
thanks to Lynn
Jaskowiak.
and to Bill Jaskowiak. I apologize for mispronouncing your name, but I hope I got it right the second time around. Okay?
Yeah, it's good. It's all good.
Jaskowiak, did I get it right?
Yep.
Okay. And finally, Labor Talks can be seen on YouTube and, of course, on channel 993 every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., every Saturday at 12:30 p.m., and goodness gracious, vote for those candidates who will support Social Security, and get in touch with your state legislators and let them know that you also support community television. Thank you very much.
Chippewa Valley Community Television is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, you can contact us by calling 715-839-5067 or on the web at www.cbctv.org.